Hi guys, welcome to our podcast and thank you for tuning in today. Today we're gonna be here to talk about the performance called Blemish, which is Raquel de Leola's work, and it is a piece that takes the simple act of washing your clothes or like just doing your laundry into something very meaningful and has a lot of different layers, such as dealing with issues like domestic labor and gender expectations and even like the impact of violence in generations today. And our goal this episode is to have like a deeper understanding of what the artwork is or what the performance is, and as well as the opinions of the four of us here today. So here with you guys is me. My name is Matteo Ayesa. I am from ID124 and I'm taking up marketing right now. And
I'm Robin. I'm ID123. Currently taking Bachelor of Science in Computer Engineering. Also with us are Russell and Urith.
My name is Russel Lubaton, ID124, and I'm currently taking BSc.
Hi, my name is Urith. I'm ID124 and I'm an AB Psych student.
So yun, we'll walk you through on what happens with the performance and break down its meaning using some of Guillermo's analytical planes. And we'll also connect it to gender performativity and more importantly to the issue no, of killings that the piece seems to reference. And ayun, there's a lot actually unpacked, but hopefully by the end of this session, you'll see why Blemish hits so hard.
so ayun guys, now that we've fully introduced ourselves and we gave you like a taste of what Blemish the performance is, let's start by going into the different parts of the piece and our different opinions.
So first, let's focus on the basin of the stained clothes. At first glance, it just looks like a regular household object, something you would normally see in a Filipino home. But the clothes inside aren't just dirty laundry. They're marked with blood stains that, for me, symbolizes killings and the violence that happened. Then, there's also De Leola's repetitive scrubbing motion. It's like she's trying to erase something impossible that's impossible to remove. And as the performance goes on, it shows how emotionally and physically draining it is. So to witness the violence and also be the one left to shoulder what is left from the chaos.
So, I would have to agree with you on that kasi watching Blemish for the first time really caught me off guard kasi parang it starts simple lang, no? And then yung artist, she begins washing clothes, but yung mood talaga, no, feels heavy almost immediately. So, kumbaga, the way she scrubs the fabric isn't as parang casual routine lang. So, it's almost like she's fighting with stains. The stains mismo no, nasa fabric. And those stains, they don't look like just dirt, no? Kasi dark siya eh. And yung shading ng color niya talaga is something that you would relate to painful or somehow lost kasi nga it's red. So when you associate red with something that you know means something to you, so you're more likely to remember the pain na you've been feeling and pwede mo siyang no, somehow parang dalhin sa pag work mo, which is yung nga sa case ng artist yung pag lalaba or yung paglilinis ng garments.
Yeah, and to go off from what he said, like for me, from the start pa lang of the performance, like you already can feel that it's something very serious, even though parang irony siya na it's so parang simple lang yung nangyayari, but from everything, all of the background, like all of the acting and stuff, it's like something that should be taken seriously, even though it's just a simple act.
Actually, I would also like to point out that when Raquel drenched the white clothing in the basin full of blood, the stains actually resemble faces of the victims. And in the background is the names of the victims echoing like it's a memory. Like even if so it's like saying even if the institution tries to wash away yung mga memories, I mean, of the killings, it will never be forgotten by the minds of the people.
Yeah, no, kasi something significant like that can't be really erased sa memories natin. No? Kaya
Yeah.
when you're reminded of one part lang nun, kahit very major, major tuloy, minor man lang yan or very little, it
Yeah.
leaves a deep impact on you talaga.
Not only is it very creepy to listen to, actually, it's also very a commentary on how we believe martial law played out, because for some reason half of the Filipinos believe it's the golden age, when there are reports and statistics showing that no, it wasn't the golden age. It was actually pretty dark and violent. So yeah.
So, ayun, now that we have heard already from all of us four, and we got to hear a lot of different perspectives already from Urith and Russell and all of us here, I think it's time that we can now move forward into analyzing the piece on a different level by analyzing it through Guillermo's analytical planes. And those planes are first semiotic, second iconic, third contextual, and fourth is evaluative. So as for the first one, semiotic plane, I'm gonna start by saying that the stains in the clothing and in the clothes that were being washed from the laundry, I think they symbolize like trauma, memories, and like violence that does not like go away easily, and things that like since yung mga stains natin sa mga clothes like from food and a lot of different things like dirt, pwede like I think that it's like a symbol that usually whenever like there's food that goes to your clothes, like you have to uh, rub it a lot para matanggal. And ayun, I think that because of that, like the stains in the clothes can represent like different mga traumas and like from different killings, or like yung sabi nga ni Urith na like yung martial law and mga different things like that. And as for the clothes naman, I think that it can represent like the bodies affected by those experiences. Like since madami mga clothes, like it can represent that it's like madaming tao yung na-affect. And ayun, aside from that, I think that the scrubbing can symbolize like attempts to erase yung mga traumas natin and things that we've been trying to like get over, or things na we're trying to move on from by removing those stains. And ayun, that's my opinion from the semiotic plane.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. But one thing I also noticed was the act of scrubbing itself. Scrubbing wasn't depicted as just cleaning here. It becomes a symbolic gesture of trying to erase guilt, shame, or even trauma. It's like she's trying to wash away something that society keeps pretending isn't there. And the more she scrubs, the more obvious it becomes that the stains, these signs of violence, cannot be fully removed. And that's powerful because it turns a domestic gesture into a political one.
Ayun nga, no, talagang agree ako doon sa'yo kasi like we've been saying kanina pa, no, reminders are always there. So, hindi maiiwasan na pag na nangyayari sa atin yun, talaga naaalala natin. So, I think we can move on with our second plane, which is the iconic plane, no? So, sige, let me start by saying in my perspective na from an iconic point of view, the visuals in Blemish are really strong, no?
Yeah.
Kumbaga, kasi the image of someone repeatedly parang scrubbing stained clothes is simple, pero it's loaded with a whole lot of meaning. So, the artist's body is tense. We can see that naman sa video. And her movements are forceful in a way, almost parang aggressive, no, at times. And then it creates this picture of someone trying to parang kumbaga restore order when everything around them is parang feels chaotic, kumbaga. And because the stains look almost like blood, no, it visually connects the act to killings, as mentioned nga by Urith earlier, no. And even if you don't know the context talaga when you watch the performance, the imagery already tells you that something violent happened, no? Based nga dun sa visualization na depict dun sa pinaka-performance. And she's trying to deal with the aftermath. Kumbaga, yun yung parang ma-interpret natin based on her actions.
Oh yeah, and you know what also struck me about the performance was after she would wash the clothes with blood, which is, by the way, ironic that she is washing clothes that in liquid that's gonna dirty the clothes even more. And anyway, after she would wash the clothes in blood, she would beat the clothes with a wooden paddle. And when I saw that, I was immediately reminded of the stories I heard about the extrajudicial killings during Duterte's drug war and martial law, and the subject of the performance, which is the Arroyo regime, also full of extrajudicial killings, and yung stories from the surviving victims where they recount how they were forcefully captured and then possibly interrogated before being tortured in many ways, usually being beaten beyond repair. And it's and the performance is like a visual representation of that.
So, like how Urith keeps pointing out, talagang based sa real life events yung pagka-perceive natin dun sa pinaka-meaning ng performance. So, it becomes iconic but not in a good way. Kaya, it really sums up to how we are able to analyze kung ano yung pinaka-ginagawa nung artist dun sa performance. Pero sige, siguro truly understand the general meaning of the performance, we have to look at din siguro the context nung performance that surrounds all these images na we have been building up all throughout our discussion. So, Russell, I think you can give us somehow a foundation kung ano yung pwede nating para integrate here sa ating next plane, which is yung contextual plane.
Oh yeah, and have you noticed? It's always the women taking up the role as caretaker. Never men, or rarely men. It's always women because they know they are more inclined to emotions. And that's also a way, that's also a reflection of how Filipinos view the normal household, where the woman, she's the one who cleans, who cooks. If there's children, she's the one who takes care of them and also deals with their emotional pain, even when she's working. So she has twice the labor while the man just has to work because yun nga, for the longest time it's the man who was always the provider.
So, not only that, but looking at the contextual plane, the piece has a lot more meaning when connected to the killings that have happened in the Philippines, because there were a lot of families that were affected by violence, and whether it is like a drug war or martial law, just like what they said earlier, and other forms of like extrajudicial killings, it's often led to deal with a lot of loss and a lot of grief, and ayun, like the emotional aftermath of things that have happened in the past. And the act of scrubbing reflects the pressure on communities and the pressure on the families or the people just affected by people that have died or people that have been a part of yung mga issues na sinabi ko nga. And the performance, it reminds us that national problems don't stay it doesn't like it doesn't go away easily, and it you need to like heal, and you need to enter a different kind of mindset before fully being able to get over yung mga nangyari when you're going through like daily life and stuff like that.
And tying back to the performance of Raquel, it's the way she's scrubbing is also like a visual representation of the government trying to erase the memories of the victims, but of course, being that they're washing it in blood and the faces of the victims are being showed, and together with the background audio of the names of the victims, the memories will still remain. They will be in our minds no matter what they do to try and change the narrative. People will always remember, and they're gonna pass that on to future generations, so they maybe in the future whoever runs for government won't repeat the same mistakes that the previous ones did.
So ayun, I really like Urith's points and everyone's points thus far. I really like all of our opinions and everything that we've gathered from analyzing the different planes, Guillermo's different planes. With that, I think we can now move on with everything that we've contexted so far. I think we can now evaluate how strongly the performance sends its message to the audience.
Siguro no, I can start with that.
Yeah.
The evaluative plane talks about a lot of interpretations when it comes to the actual on how we see the performance. So for me, siguro I think the performance work well really, because it doesn't parang overcomplicate things, you know. There's no dramatic na parang setup, no dialogue. Just this ordinary chore turned into something somehow symbolic by our artist in the video. And what makes it somehow powerful is, you know, parang how the stains never really go away, no matter how hard she scrubs. So it's frustrating to watch, and I think that's the point, no. It mirrors the what do you call this reality of communities who have lost people to violence. So in a sense, you try to move on, you try to clean things up, pero the impact stays, hindi talaga siya aalis. So that feeling of being stuck with the stain is what makes, you know, the piece linger in your mind. So andun lang talaga siya, no, hindi talaga siya nawawala no matter how hard you try to forget it, kasi nga at the end of the day you're always reminded nung mga nangyari talaga.
For me, the piece becomes incredibly effective because it forces the viewer to understand the effect of unending violence. You watch the performer's body wear down, and you hear this friction of the scrubbing, and it becomes uncomfortable at some point, and that discomfort is the point. It confronts us with the truth that the violence in our country doesn't end when the killing stops. It lingers, it stains, and it falls on ordinary people, especially the women that deals with them, with what's left. And Blemish makes you sit with that, and it doesn't like let you escape it.
I like how we always keep pointing out na talagang yung viewers really have no the
Yeah.
capability to feel kung ano yung mismong naramdaman din ng artist sa performance. And I think that's an important factor na rin siguro on how we visualize and even understand the main concept nung pinaka play nung performance na yun. So it's a very crucial matter kasi nga tayo yung nag-interpret kung how the artist acts based on her action. So siguro now that we've gone through Guillermo's planes, we've able to enumerate all of them now. I guess we can connect it further with gender performativity from Butler and Sally. Kaya sige, let's open our discussion for this one.
Yeah, to start, I think that in relation to Butler, I think that gender is shown through yung repeated actions. I think that the process of like scrubbing, it is shown, it becomes one of the actions wherein it shows how like women are expected to clean, care, and just generally like take care of our household and like take care of yung mga ginagawa na ganun, like doing the laundry or like cleaning clothes. And the repeated movement, I think it like reveals how tiring these things are, and it reveals like how much work it actually is, even though a lot of people think na dahil lang it's just like a women chore, or it's just like something na ginagawa sa household. It's just something that's like very simple, or like something na hindi masyado importante. But in reality, I think, especially combined with mga emotional stress from, ayun, violence and loss, it's like a lot of layers that makes it very impactful and very something very deep siguro sa like sa performance and in terms of the artwork in general.
I would also like to bring up how women are the caretakers, be, the more emotional people of society, hence why the caretaker roles usually fall on us. I mean, I'm not saying that men don't have a heart, it's just that women are generally known as more empathetic, we can read the room and stuff. Yet society also expects that emotional side of us to have a time limit, or like a limit in general when it comes to traumatic incidents, as in, yes, we're free to cry, and then after that they're gonna complain and stuff like that, like, why are you crying, like, you have to do this, you have to work on this next, like, you can't just keep crying, when everyone knows that you can't rush grief, you can't rush past grief and stuff like that.
Okay, so adding to what Theo and Urith explained, I want to connect gender performativity to the killings themselves. In many communities affected by extrajudicial killings or enforced disappearances, it's the women who become the caretakers of the victim's story. The ones who demand justice, who remember the names, and who keeps their loved one's memory alive. That act of remembering becomes a gendered role, just like scrubbing becomes a performance of labor. Women are pushed into the role of the emotional backbone of the family, even when they're grieving and even when they're exhausted.
So ayun no, like Russell said din talaga, yung roles never talaga yan na ano na parang kumbaga na hindi napapasama sa pag-analyze natin ng performance, kasi yun yung parang nagiging reference din natin on how we would perceive kung ano yung ginagawa ng artist and kung ano yung pinaka-context ng ginagawa niya. Kasi gender, in our own perception, parang yun yung nagde-define kung ano yung pinaka-meaning no, nung action na yun. Kaya it's not really rare for us to associate that kind of aspect when it comes to these kind of performances. So, on my part naman, siguro connecting this to gender performativity, there's something important about the fact that she's doing a chore that's usually parang associated with women. Pero Butler talks about how gender is repeated through actions, and siguro and washing clothes din is one of those tasks that society automatically parang assigns to women. Kaya nga gender role assignments din na parang context. And then Sally also mentions how women are expected to be no, parang the ones who hold everything together emotionally, morally, and even spiritually. And it can't be helped that especially when a family is going through a crisis, ganun nga yung na-observe. So, and dito naman sa blemish, we can directly parang connect it to how that expectation plays out physically. So, kumbaga she's literally carrying the mess that yung violence leaves behind. And the performance isn't just about cleaning in that sense. It's about parang how women often end up dealing with the emotional damage from killings even when they aren't the ones who caused them. So yun, sa kanila din nagre-reflect yung pinaka overall impact nung parang accident or event na yun. So, siguro with all these interpretations, siguro I guess we can end na with our own
Yeah.
conclusions on how we can wrap this up. So, sige, ano ba? You have one
I'll start.
conclusion na? Yeah.
Okay, sure. So for me, like to sum everything up, all of our thoughts and all of our perspectives on this performance, I think that it shows how much emotional labor people can carry when they go through hardships in their life, like when they go through violence, or their loved ones getting tragically ended or something like that. It highlights how families especially women, end up dealing with the pain left behind by killings, and how it is overall like a very deep issue that is more than just something that was shown in the artwork, which was just like scrubbing clothes and doing the laundry. Ayun.
For my personal takeaway, I think that the message of this piece is how violence affects not only the victims but also their families in ways that can never be truly forgotten. How violence causes trauma that doesn't just fade over time but something that lingers.
And something that also lingers is grief, because obviously their family members were affected, and not only that, they weren't even given due process. They were served no justice, so they're going to carry that with them until they die and stuff like that.
And ayun, no, siguro for me na lang din, it shows how violence, especially killings, no, leaves really a big mark that parang families are forced to have or forced to live with after the event itself. So, and for siguro a lot of for women na rin, no, the responsibility of carrying that grief becomes another form of parang labor, no, kasi it's something that you carry through alongside with the work you've been doing. So, ayun, it becomes a form of another labor na you get used to, which is actually a bad thing na rin for yourself kasi nga it's really not much of a positive impact na rin sa sarili mo. So yeah, it's a simple performance on the surface, but it says a lot about trauma and the kind of pain that doesn't fade talaga. So, ayun, siguro, we can end this here. Once again, this has been Robin.
This has been Teo.
This has been Russell.
And this has been Urith.
Thanks for listening, and we hope this conversation helped you see the depth behind the piece Blemish. Bye bye.